So what we're going to do is we're going to grab a beautiful blue and white container. So I'm going to center this. I went ahead and put a lantern on top of it. Now because it's going to be a gardening style, I want to use some of these concrete pieces. I found her at a local boutique store. So I'm just going to go ahead and put that in the middle. All right, so then I went ahead and I just added some green to my container. It's filled up with foam. And so what we're going to do is we're going to start adding the gardening effect. And in order to do that, we're going to add our longer stems first. So I have all of these longer forms, and I'm going to start with this. Actually, I'm going to start with the white lilies. Aren't these just beautiful, you guys? These are so cute. And what I like about them, look, they're so long. And remember, when you're doing a garden style bouquet, it has to be wild. It has to be like you collected a lot of flowers from a garden, and so you want to have to let them fly out like this right here. So this is not going to be a compact design, it's going to be a garden design. So we're going to add one right there, and then I have one left, so I'm going to add another one here. And see how what happens on the right happens on the left, and what goes up always must come down. Now what we're going to do is we're going to balance this flower over on our left hand side by adding some other florals. They don't have to be the same one, but it has to be about the same height, right? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add one right here and another one right here. And remember, we have to really let them fly out from our container, and that way it's going to look like a garden arrangement. I have this shorter one right here. Let me see, I'm gonna add this short one right here because remember, some of them have to be tucked in, some of them have to be flying out. And I'm going to add this other one right here. Perfect. So that gives us the base, and look how much girthier this got. This gives us the base of our floral arrangement. So now what we're going to do is we're going to grab our flowers that are going to be tucked in, and for that I'm going to do some hydrangea, some beautiful daisies, some cabbage roses, and some beautiful peonies. So what I'm going to do is this hydrangea, actually I'm going to pull one out. They were a white hydrangea, and I've told you that we can spray paint them with spray paint that is made for floral design. I wonder if I have a can somewhere around here, but I've shown you before that this is a white hydrangea that I spray painted blue. And then also what you can do is cut them into individual pieces, and that way it gives you more bang for your buck basically. And with this particular one, the hydrangea, I always just like to tuck it in as far in as possible, making sure that it goes into the foam. This is what's going to give us some coverage on our container, and like I said, it's always the base. And we're going to do the same with these beautiful daisy mums. So I'm going to add one right here. Remember, what happens on the right happens on the left, and then you want to give it a little bit of a spin, and then you want to repeat right here. What happens on the right happens on the left. And remember, all of these flowers are tucked in. I'm going to continue to spin around, and it looks like I have yellow all throughout. I'm going to add another one right here. So this is going to give us a set of 2. Garden style floral arrangements are more about the wilderness factor of it, right? So what we want to do is we want to create a more wild look, and the way you do that is by letting those flowers really spill out up and down. That's what's going to give it that wild effect. All right, so I have some of these roses that I have pre-cut as well. So I'm gonna start right here on the back. And because I put one on the back, I'm immediately gonna go to the front, and I'm going to add another one right here. And so now I'm gonna go over here to the side, and immediately I'm gonna come over to this side. That's what's gonna give us the balance. And if I was to spin around my bouquet right now, you'll see that all of the flowers, all of the colors are represented all throughout the bouquet of flowers. And that's what we want. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some of this blue hyacinth, and I'm going to, let me start on the front. I'm gonna start right here with this guy, and then I'm gonna spin around. I have 3, so I'm going to do that triangle. So one right here, I'm going to add another one right here. Then I'm gonna move over to this side, and I'm going to add yet another one. I'm gonna put this one up like that. All right, so now I have some of these beautiful accent flower, and I'm gonna do the same. I have 3, so I'm gonna create that triangle. So I'm gonna add one right here on the back, and immediately I'm going to go over here, and that gives us the line, and then we have to look for a point to create that triangle of flowers. How cute is this? All right, so now I have some of this palm, and I'm going to make it spill forward. Once again, we have 3, so I'm going to add one right here. Then I'm going to create that line, that vertical line that I'm looking for. I'm gonna add this guy right here. Pull it forward. And then I'm gonna create that triangle. Super easy, you guys. It's all about creating that line, the vertical line, and then finding a point to create the triangle. It doesn't matter if it goes down or if it goes to the side or if it goes up. You first create a vertical line and then you join it at a point to create the triangle. All right, I have this lonely flower right here, so I think I'm gonna add this guy right here. How beautiful is that? I absolutely love it. So now we have this flyaway. And with the flyaways, remember I always tell you that that flower is a dainty touch that is going to just pop off from your bouquet. And the way you want to do that is you put one up, you spin around, then you put one down, like this. You put one up, right here, and then you spin, oops, and then you put one down. And then you put one up, you spin. All right, you guys, so this is the end result. I absolutely love this garden style bouquet on an urn, on a lantern. And like I said, the wilderness factor here is how high those flowers are flying out from the bouquet. It really is so beautiful, and I love the way this turned out. I really hope that you give it a try. Like I said, it's all about creating that triangle, and then also by clustering flowers together to create that garden style. I love the way this looks on this blue and white, and the garden style, which I match another one right here. This would be perfect on an entryway table, perhaps even on a kitchen island. I love the way they turned out. But what do you think? Last year, I shared with you how to create this beautiful wedding arch. You can watch that video down below. But today we're going to create the matching centerpiece. I already greened my container, and I'm going to start with some hydrangea. I also love a blue hydrangea. If you know me, you know it's my favorite flower to work with. So I'm gonna start with some hydrangea and maybe some blue peonies as well. If you cannot get yourself some blue peonies, then you can get some spray. Hang on one second, I have it right here, and I'm going to share with you what that looks like. So if you don't have a blue hydrangea, you can always use a blue spray for florals. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm gonna start with this hydrangea right here. I'm gonna cut them a little short, and right here on the flower, it tells you exactly where to poke. So I'm gonna start right here on the outside. You guys see this foliage? I'm still gonna use it. I'm going to insert it right there. I'm gonna cut this other one right here. It's gonna give me the foliage and the hydrangea. So I'm gonna go, what happens on the right happens on the left. And then don't forget to use your foliage so that way it looks more natural. And this last one I'm gonna cut as well. And I'm gonna insert it right here, but I'm not gonna put it right on the top because I don't want it to be linear. So I'm gonna go more towards the outside, and then I'm going to add my foliage over on this side. And as you guys can see, this foliage really is helping to also fill in all of the other foliages that I had. All right, so now I'm going to use some of these peonies. I have 4 of them. So what I'm going to do is I'm gonna bring one over on this side, because remember, what happens on the right happens on the left. So in this case, we added a hydrangea on this side. So now we're going to add 2 peonies on the other side to make the bulk of the hydrangea. So we're going to add 2 like this, as you guys can see. And also because I like to work in sets of 3s, 2s, and 1s. But as you guys can see right here, this gives me what happens on the right happens on the left, but it doesn't have to be the same flower, all right? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce a peony right here in between my hydrangeas, and then I'm going to repeat on this other side. And it is always good to have all of your tools at the ready, so I'm going to add one right here. And so as you guys can see, I'm gonna push that one a little further down. We have peonies all the way around the hydrangeas, and so that's going to give us some balance because there's flowers all throughout. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm gonna grab some of these peach flowers, and I have some dahlia, I have some ranunculus, I have some roses, and like I said, they all don't have to be the same flower. As long as you have balance, and remember the balance is, the way you're gonna get balance is by repeating to yourself what happens on the right happens on the left, what goes up must come down. So I'm gonna start with this beautiful peony right here. I'm gonna add it right here to the top. And then I have this rose. So this is not a peony, this is a rose. They're about the same color. They're on the same family. So what I'm going to is I'm gonna bring it over to this side. See, and that's starting to give us that color all throughout the centerpiece. Now I'm gonna grab one of these dahlias. I'm gonna cut it short. And I'm gonna bring it over to this side, as you guys can see. And so now I have to bring this color either up here or over to this side. So in this case, I'm gonna bring it to the top because I already have this hydrangea on this side and the perimeter of my container is already full. So I'm gonna add it right here to the top like this. Look how pretty, you guys. So now I have this really beautiful rose, and this one has some really pretty foliages that I just absolutely love. Let's see, where do I need a flower? I feel like we need a flower right here. So we're going to add this almost like a peach color. And so now I'm going to bring that peach color also to the top like this with this beautiful ranunculus. And now I'm gonna bring the peach color over to this other side. And because this is a smaller ranunculus, you guys, I'm going to add two of them together. So that way, remember to don't polka dot them when they're little like this. It's better if you group them because that's going to create more of an impact. All right, so now I have this really pretty accent flower that I just absolutely adore. I have a few of them, so I'm going to add them, and this is going to be our flyaway. So you want them to be a step up from every other flower, so that way it creates that air on your centerpiece. So remember, what happens on the right happens on the left, but I'm going to spin around so that way I can insert going the same way, and it's going to create that balance. And remember to let them fly out like this. See how this one goes to the right or to the left, this one to the right. And so now we're gonna do some to the center. So we're gonna put one right here on the center of my centerpiece. Inserting all the way down. And then I'm going to come down like this. And so now because I came down over on this side, I have to come down on this side. But I ran out of that flower, so I'm just gonna pull one right here from my display. So that way I have all of the same flower all throughout my centerpiece. Look how pretty. All right, so now my flyaway is going to be this beautiful blue flower, and I love the fact that it has this gorgeous grass on it. And now this one really does have to come up, and this one you have to be really intentional where you put it in order to really fly away from your centerpiece. Is what's gonna give us, oh look, I did have another one. It's what's really gonna give us that air. And just go ahead and insert. You can always, look how pretty, you guys. I'm gonna add another one right here. And since I have this one right here, I'm gonna go ahead and add it as well. Maybe over on this side, maybe right about here. All right, so far so good. I was gonna add this delphinium, but you know what? I don't think I need them. But what I am going to add is going to be some of this greenery that has this gorgeous blue bloom in it. And that is going to serve as a filler, and is going to have this beautiful white bloom and this blue accent flower. And that's what's going to really pull that blue from our centerpiece into the arrangement, into the design, and really let it be more organic with all of the blue popping off of it. Look how big this one is. I'm gonna add this one right here to the top. Yep. All right, so here is the end result of this beautiful summer centerpiece to match our wedding arch. This will be so gorgeous on a summer wedding, on a beautiful tablescape for summer. I absolutely love the combination of colors, this beautiful peach, blue and white. It is a classic combination that I just absolutely adore. And as you guys can see, just a few blooms of each, a few hydrangeas, a few blue peonies, a few gorgeous dahlias can really create a gorgeous feel to your centerpiece. Remember that you can find some of these florals at davidchristofers.com, and you can get 10% off by using the code Ramon10 if you are working on your wreaths, on your swags, on your beautiful wedding centerpieces. Well, you know where to find them. What do you think? All right, everyone, so what we're going to do is we're going to create a gorgeous wreath to go with our centerpiece. And for that, I do have to bring my glue all the way over here because I will be using my glue. I already start with some basic greenery, but I really want to make this very flowy and very full. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put them on this side. And I'm going to start by adding my lines. And what I mean by that is I want to see how long do I want this, and I want this to be very long. So I'm gonna add some glue to my stem right here, and I'm going to add this guy over to this side and then bend it down. So that way I know how long I want it to be. And I'm going to do the same with the top. So I'm gonna bring it down for a little bit. I'm gonna add some glue right here. Be generous with your glue if you want it to last, if you want it to withstand the winds and the weathers and all that. So this is how big our wreath is going to be. So this is gonna be so much fun. All right, so then I'm going to grab this guy right here and I'm gonna cut it into two. I don't know what I do with all my wire cutters, you guys. I haven't been able to find a pair of wire cutters like this. They don't make them anymore, and so I take care of them like you have no idea. Every time I go somewhere to work, I'm just like, where's my wire cutters? Where's my wire cutters? So I'm gonna put one right here, and then I'm gonna grab another one and I'm gonna do the same on the inside and bend them down like that. And I want to grab another one and finish my wreath. Now, this foliage is one of my favorite foliages, and believe it or not, this is from Walmart. So you can find, I think that you can still find this at Walmart. It's a Ponthes. Look how pretty, you guys. Oh, isn't that gorgeous? So I'm going to do the same right here. And cutting it into pieces is perhaps your best bet to create more stems. Don't be afraid to cut, because that way you can really look. This one has three. I'm gonna use this one right here, right? And this one right here. And then this guy, I'm gonna use it also. So I'm going to start with this guy. I'm gonna add some glue to it. Remember, we want this to be very full. So I'm gonna add this guy right here. This one I'm going to add to the bottom. Now I do have other foliages that I will be using to fill in. What I like about this also is because it has a really good wire. And then this guy I'm going to put right here in the middle. Right about here. So this is going to be our core right here. And I just wanted my wreath to be very flowy. Look at this, how fun is that? So I'm gonna raise it up a little bit more so you guys can see it. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm gonna do a simple bow, very simple. So I'm just gonna pinch right here. I'm going to go down, pinch, pinch, maybe a 4-loop bow, since it's going to be just one ribbon kind, like this, and like this, like that. Maybe I can do one more loop. Let's see. Yeah, because I'm going to do a 5-loop bow. I want it to be very simple. I don't want nothing extravagant, because our flowers is what's going to really look extravagant on this wreath. I have some beautiful florals that we're going to add. I'm going to attach with a wire really tightly, and then I'm going to insert right here. I'm going to take it off my stand so that I can attach. You sometimes have to spin it around so you can touch very tightly. I want this to be very tight so it doesn't move, like so. There you go. And so now we can put it back into a wreath form. And look at that, a simple bow. We'll of course fluff it at the end. I never like to worry about the fluffing because I have so much to go, so what's the point of doing that? But I just want you to see how big and luscious our wreath is. All right, so I'm gonna start with the flowers. I'm gonna start with these beautiful blue hydrangeas that I want to match with my centerpiece, because I want it to look like they are sisters. So I'm gonna start right here. And then I'm gonna grab another hydrangea. I already cut them short to save us some time. I'm gonna start right here, close to the bow, as close as you can to the bow without being too close to the bow, if that even makes sense. Right, so I'm gonna add another one down here. See how pretty that is? You know, that is bothering me. Hang on one second. All right, I'm back. This is bothering me, the fact that it's so long, so I'm gonna just cut it right here. And this one I have to recut too, a little bit shorter. See how they're just shorter and sweeter? All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm gonna bring some of this beautiful flower and I'm going to start adding this flower. I left them long because look how long our foliages are. So I really want them to pop off like that. And the way you do that is, let me show you. So you add a little bit of glue to your stem. You get closer right here. And then what you do is like you bend that wire so it really pops out. We want it to be extravagant and airy and flowy and just absolutely gorgeous. Now I'm gonna go right here. Once again, pop that forward. Don't insert all the way, you guys, because then you won't have any air. And you want it to be airy, so when you put it on the door, it really pops off. I'm gonna go over to the back of the bow, and I'm going to add one right here. And of course, we'll pop our bow. And then I feel like we need one more coming out of here. So I'm gonna add this guy. Sometimes, because we're so close to the wreath, we don't see what we're doing to the wreath. So that's why I always tell you to step away from it, so that way you can see what's going on. All right, I feel like we need one maybe coming down. Let me see if I have an extra one. Yes, I do. So I'm gonna add one coming down behind the hydrangea right here. So see, it goes all the way down. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm gonna grab this beautiful dahlia. I love this dahlia. I'm gonna bend it down. I always like to bend the stem down. And so I'm going to add a little bit of glue. And I'm gonna go right here close to my bow, moving the bow so that way I can do a clean drop. Look at that, how pretty is that? I have a smaller dahlia also that has so much foliage. I love this foliage on this dahlia. Once again, give it a curvature so it pops from the wreath. Add your glue. And we're going to add this guy right around here. So move all the foliage as you can to have that clean drop. And I have a rose. I have this beautiful rose. So I'm gonna add it maybe back here. You guys, I'm sure you know that designing wreaths is one of my favorite things to do. The other one is, of course, the holiday season. But for any season, you can make a wreath. You can make it for a wedding. You can make it for a baby shower. You can make it for fall. You can make it for Christmas. Wreaths is one of my favorite things to do. All right, so then I have this peony, and so I want to get it closer. So this one I'm going to cut a little bit shorter, and then I'm going to give it a little curvature to the stem. Add my glue. I'm going to pop my ribbon like that, and I'm going to insert this a little closer like that. How pretty is that? Then I have this gorgeous rose with this beautiful lateral coming out. Sometimes you want to play with the head also, so just so they look not so straight, but they look a little bit more natural. So I am going to add this guy right around here, starting to complete. How cute is this? All right, so now I have this gorgeous ranunculus. I just love this ranunculus. I'm gonna cut a little short. And then I'm gonna add my glue. Once again, play with those heads of your flowers. Make them look more natural. And so I'm gonna insert this guy right around here. I have another one over here. Once again, I'm gonna cut it a little bit shorter. That head, just give it a little bit of a curvature so it looks natural. It's just like, it's a habit by now, you know, to moving those flowers like that. And the more you play with them, the more that you can create that habit. All right, so I like what I see. I feel like we need some flyaways. And for that, let me see, what do I have left? At this point, like I just assess what I have left. Do I want to use? See, if I add this peony, like I feel like it would be too bulky. So I want it to be more airy. So I'm just gonna stop here with the flowers. I do have these foliages, this hydrangea foliage. So I'm just gonna go ahead and insert them. Once again, the more foliage you add to your design, the more natural it's going to look. The hydrangea has hydrangea foliage. Go ahead and add it. Don't throw it away. You already paid for it, so might as well just insert it somewhere here. Look at that. It just supports those flowers. And be sure to go ahead and put some on the top, and then also all the way to the bottom like this. Look at that. How much fuller can this get, right? All right, you guys, so the last thing I'm gonna add is the same foliage that we added to the centerpiece, because it has a tiny little blue flower that is going to create an amazing, amazing touch. And once again, this is gonna be our third greenery, and it has that flower, so it's going to create more of a natural look. Look at that, and also is going to give it that flyaway look. You guys, I don't think that I've ever done a arrangement without flyaways. Ever since I started working in the flower shop, ooh, I just burned myself. Be careful with your glue. I just love to add these flyaways, especially if it has a flower like this, that it has the same colors than all of the other flowers on the arrangement, because that's going to create a more cohesive, beautiful, natural look. And all you have to do is go in there. You can insert and then pop it up, so that way it can fly away from the arrangement. Look how beautiful this looks. Right, so I'm gonna add one more right here. Let's see, I feel like I need one right here. Like that, look at that. It just starts to fill in. This wreath literally took me like for 10 minutes to make. So I wanna tell you that if I can do this, so can you guys. All you have to do is try. Don't be afraid to try. The last thing you can do is just pull it apart, redo it. No biggie. That's what I did for the longest time, you guys. I don't know if you know, but when I started, okay, so here's the thing. I worked at a furniture store, and all I wanted to was to work at a flower shop, right? And so what I did is, like, I went to Hobby Lobby and I just bought a whole bunch of like cheap materials, and I would go home and I would put flower arrangements together. I would pull them apart, and then I would do wreaths and take pictures of it and pull them apart. And so that's how I would practice, right? And so one time I went to apply at a flower shop, and I just loved being in the flower shop, and I was like, I want this to be my job. And so they called me one day. I had quit my job. And I went to ask for this flower shop job after I took all those pictures and things. And so I was like, they're gonna hire me. And so they called me to the flower shop, and they sit me down and they're like, well, you know what? I can tell that you have talent, but unfortunately we're gonna hire you because we're fully staffed. And so I was devastated. My heart was broken. And so I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go home and buy even more materials, and I'm gonna keep practicing because I know one day they're going to want to hire me. Well, cut to me about 3 months later, the owner of that flower shop was really sick at the hospital. He almost didn't make it. And so they called me because they needed somebody to come and work at the flower shop. You guys, I'm a strong believer that if you plant the seed and if you give it to God and just let him be the one that waters it, and let him be the one that gives the sunshine for that seed to like really sprout. You know, the Bible says that when the time is right, I, the Lord, will make it happen for you. And I love that message, because our job, you guys, is to prepare, to practice, to re-practice, to do all the things that we have to do. And then when the time is right, God will make a way when there seems to be no way. So I love telling this story to everybody that will hear. And I love to encourage people to just keep going, to keep believing in themselves, to keep dreaming about it, and to never give up. Because it isn't the not giving up that the dreams come true. Those who give up will never make it to the finish line, but those like you and I who don't give up, who keep practicing all these beautiful things, sooner or later will make it. All right, so I'm gonna stop right here. I think this is gonna be our last one, right here. And I like the bow on it, I really do. However, I feel like it needs a few more tails. So I'm gonna get a few tails ready, and I'll be right back to tell you how we're going to install them. Keep watching. All right, so I'm back. So with some scraps of the ribbon, what I did is like I just folded it in half, dovetailed it and put it on a wire. And so what I'm going to do is now I'm going to add an extra tail because I feel like this bow needs some, see? It needs some extra tails to make the bow seem bigger, and just a few of them will do. So I'm going to do like a step down, like a step ladder motion, and I'm going to introduce to my wreath like this, and then just let that wreath, see how that bow just was extended? All right, you guys, so now I'm gonna put this in the door and I'll be right back with you. Keep watching. All right, you guys, so here is the end result of this beautiful wreath. Perfect for summer, a wedding, a baby shower, or just to put on your door this summer. I love the color combination. It is super fresh. I love the bow. Look, you guys, just a simple little bow with a beautiful print. It is made out of canvas, and I think it just looks absolutely beautiful on the door. I really hope that you would give it a try. Remember, what happens on the right happens on the left. What goes up must come down, and you too can have a gorgeous, beautiful wreath for your door this summer season.